We rely on them, but can we trust them? Platforms are not a monolith. They each have their own personalities, systems, and values. But they share a common business model. Collect as much user-generated data as possible and monetize it with advertisers and other partners. They benefit from increased user activity by having minimal restrictions on user actions or what content users can place on their platforms. Google and Facebook have offered insight into their thinking about what the future could look like and the business model to achieve it. For Facebook, the business model means connecting people no matter what the cost. Maybe it costs a life by exposing someone to bullies. Maybe someone dies in a terrorist attack coordinated on our tools. And still, we connect people. The ugly truth is that we believe in connecting people so deeply that anything that allows us to connect more people more often is de facto good. In an internal Google video, the company describes the sum total of an individual's data as a ledger that can predict future actions, but also be manipulated to direct their actions towards a global good.
User-centered design principles have dominated the world of computing for many decades. But what if we looked at things a little differently? What if the ledger could be given a volition or purpose rather than simply acting as an historical reference? What if we focused on creating a richer ledger by introducing more sources of information? What if we thought of ourselves not as the owners of this information, but as custodians, transient carriers, or caretakers? Initially, the notion of a goal-oriented ledger may be user-driven. As an organization, Google would be responsible for offering suitable targets for a user's ledger. Whilst the notion of a global good is problematic, topics would likely focus on health or environmental impact to reflect Google's values as an organization. Once the user selects a volition for their ledger, every interaction may be compared to a series of parallel options. If one of these options allows the ledger to move closer to its goal, it will be offered up to the user. Over time, by selecting these options, the user's behavior may be modified and the ledger moves closer to its target.
These visions share one thing in common: Google and Facebook in the central role of controlling information and driving advertising and user decisions. To do that requires collecting as much data as possible and allowing as much content as possible. And that business model is what led to Cambridge Analytica allegations of political manipulation, illicit online activities, and the blurring of lines between mainstream platforms and the dark web. This is not a question whether digital platforms are led by people who are good or bad. It's a question whether their business model inevitably puts the digital platform in conflict with its promises to do better. This conflict between what is good for the platform and what is good for users is not new.
Mark Zuckerberg has a long history of public apologies dating back further than Facebook itself. In 2003, Zuckerberg apologized in the Harvard Crimson for any harm done after his website FaceMash asked users to rate people's hotness. 3 years later, Zuckerberg said Facebook, quote, really messed this one up following user complaints that the newly launched news feed invaded their privacy.
Zuckerberg apologized once again in 2007 for an uproar over the company's Beacon advertising system, saying, I know we can do better. 1 month later, he discussed that controversy on 60 Minutes.
I guess this shows how difficult it is for a company like yours to make money through advertising and protect people's real privacy and their sense of privacy.
You know, it might take some work for us to get this exactly right. This is something that we think is going to be a really good thing.
And that brings us back to our question. We rely on them, but can we trust them?